Hello, in this video, I'll explain the concept of prototypes in JavaScript. If you're ready, let's start. Welcome back. Prototype in JavaScript can be a very complex and confusing topic, but I hope my explanation will make it more clear for you to understand object prototypes in JavaScript. The idea is a prototype is a built-in property of an object, and every object has a prototype. We keep adding methods on this prototype, and even built-in objects like an array has a prototype. Before I confuse you with a prototype, let me show you. For example, we begin by creating an object here. Then we call it an object with the name person. Then this object has a name we can just simply make it more interesting. We call it first name. Then the first name is a string. Then we have the last name and it's a string as well. Then we have an address, which is a number. So this is a simple object, person. It's possible for us to log this and find what type of if we log this on the console as an example, it's going to give us an object, the object itself. This is the object. But if you carefully look at, I'd like to expand this, at the object, it has a prototype down here. This prototype is an inbuilt property. If I close that, we see the properties. The first property is the address. The second property is the first name. The third property is last name. And then we have the prototype, which is a property that has several other methods that are functions that relate to this particular object. So a prototype is an inbuilt kind of property that is added to every object that you create. If we turn this into an array, suppose we have an array now, we create an array which is an array of fruits. And if you remember, arrays are objects in JavaScript. So the first is going to be an apple, the second is going to be an orange, and that's enough to just illustrate the point. So if I log this on the console, we have an array here. And now, since an array is an object, again, enlarge this, we see it has a prototype here. At zero index is the apple, which is this element of the array, the second. Then down here, this object has a prototype, and that prototype has all the array methods. We can use that prototype to grab or to manipulate the object. In an example, let me create another array. So I'd like to get rid of that. Then I would like to create an array. Then I can still use this array, but add an extra, or simply, we'd like to use the built-in array method, this one, and the prototype. So what we'd simply do, we do something like array.prototype. Then we can now create a function. We can add a method to this. So how would you do that? We would do something like, suppose we want a method that grabs the first element of an array. Suppose that's what we are building. So we would add on it like something like get first element. Then it's going to be just a method, so we can just equate it to a function. Then this function, it is going to return. Of course, we want to get hold of the first index. So then in here, we're going to use the concept of this. Since this array is an object, we're going to use the concept of this, which is this object, this array. So this, then we grab the index of 0, which is the first element of that array, which is apple in this case, if you had run it on this. So then down here, we can now run our method. So we can do something like console.log. We log fruit dot, then we call the method of this method that we created here. We call it the method of the prototype of this. Let's see what happens. So you see, we added that method to the object prototype. So what would happen if we removed this, unlocked that? Then we carefully open that and open the prototype. Then we are looking for this method get. You see now this method is available in this prototype. This is the method we added on the prototype. So that's a basic introduction to what prototypes are. But the bottom line is you need to remember like it's a built-in object of every, it's a built-in property, sorry, of every object, and you can still add your own methods on this prototype. Then, how do we get, suppose we have an imaginary object that we don't know what its prototype is. It's possible to get the prototype of an object. For example, back to this object here, and I would like to get rid of this. Back to this object, person, we cannot really declare it, so we cannot really declare a constant. So we need to just get rid of that. Suppose we wanted to grab the prototype of this object. There's a method available to get us the prototype of that object. So we will do something like we create a constant person prototype will be equal to, we reference the object, this particular object. We use the object dot, then there's a method. I would like to bring this on these lines so that it's easy to follow it up. Object dot get prototype method, prototype of. Then we pass in the object which we wish to get its prototype. Like we wish to get the prototype of person, we pass in there. Then we close that, then I take it back here. So that like it's on one line. So if we log this on the console, we are going to get the prototype of this person object. And we have this object prototype. So that's the whole concept of prototype. It's a built-in property of every object that you create. Even in built JavaScript, objects have prototypes. I hope by the end of this video, you now understand JavaScript prototypes. If you found value in this video, kindly consider giving it a thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe. Thank you.